Right now, some of the biggest names in tech and AI are getting absolutely hammered, and if you've been watching your portfolio turn red the last few days, I get it, it's uncomfortable. Names that felt untouchable a month ago are suddenly down double digits, and the financial headlines are throwing around words like meltdown and bloodbath. But here's the thing, nobody's telling you. This exact kind of fear, this kind of panic selling is usually where patient investors end up making the most money. Today, on Ticker Hawk, I'm walking you through 6 stocks that have been beaten down hard over the past couple of weeks, breaking down exactly why each one is falling, and why I think a handful of them are setting up for a real snapback rather than the start of something worse. Stick around, because by the end of this video, you'll have a much clearer picture of what's actually happening under the hood of this market, instead of just reacting to red numbers on a screen. And hey, if you're new around here, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now, because we cover setups exactly like this multiple times a week, and you don't want to be scrolling past the next one. So let's set the stage first. Yesterday, we got a consumer price index report that actually came in cooler than expected. The headline number fell 0.4% for the month, which was the biggest monthly drop we've seen in years. And that pulled the annual inflation rate down to 3.5%, below what economists were bracing for. Normally, that kind of number would send the market into a full-blown rally. And honestly, stocks did pop on the news initially. But here's the twist. The Federal Reserve's new chairman has been talking tough on inflation lately, and the market is actually now pricing in a decent chance of a rate hike in September rather than a cut, which is a very different setup than what a lot of people expected coming into the summer. On top of that, oil prices have been climbing again, back above $80 a barrel on renewed tension in the Middle East after an earlier ceasefire started to fall apart. And that's adding another layer of uncertainty for anyone trying to figure out where inflation goes from here. So what we're left with is a market that's pulling in 2 directions at once, cooling prices on one hand, a more hawkish-sounding Fed, and rising energy costs on the other. Big cap tech names like Apple, Amazon, and Microsoft have actually been holding up fine or even climbing, while a lot of the AI infrastructure names, the memory chip makers, the optical networking companies, the whole picks and shovels crowd of this AI build-out have been getting crushed. And that's really the story we need to unpack today, because I don't think this rotation means the AI trade is over. I think it means we're getting a shakeout, and shakeouts create opportunity if you know where to look. If you're already trading some of these names, drop a comment and let me know how you're playing it. I'm curious to see what the community here is thinking. Let's start with the name that actually kicked off this whole memory sector meltdown, SK Hynix. This stock just made its debut on the NASDAQ a little over a week ago, and the first few days were incredible. Shares were ripping higher as investors piled into the AI memory story. But then a South Korean brokerage put out a profit estimate for the current quarter that came in about 8% below what analysts were expecting, largely because of slower than anticipated shipments of their next generation high bandwidth memory chips. That single report sent the stock down around 15% in a single session back home in Seoul, which is actually the worst single-day drop this company has ever had. And it even triggered a temporary trading halt on the Korean stock exchange because the whole index dropped so hard. That kind of move obviously spooked investors everywhere, and it dragged down every other memory name trading here in the US, Micron, SanDisk, Western Digital, all of it. Now look, I'm not going to sit here and tell you SK Hynix is a screaming buy after one bad estimate from one brokerage. That's a headline you have to take seriously. But I will say this, the long-term demand story for high bandwidth memory hasn't changed. Overnight, because of one shipment timing issue, chips still need to get built, and AI servers still need memory to run. If you're someone who already has exposure here, this is a name to watch closely rather than panic sell. And if you're looking to start a position, I'd rather see a few more sessions of stabilization before stepping in. New listings like this tend to be volatile in their first few weeks anyway, since there isn't much of a trading history yet. For investors to anchor to, so some of this swing is honestly just the market figuring out where this stock should live. Which brings us to Micron, ticker MU, and this is the one that really got caught in the blast radius. Micron stock has been on an absolute tear this year, up something like 700% over the past 12 months at one point, and it actually crossed the $1 trillion market cap mark before this pullback started. Since hitting its all-time high back in late June, the stock has come down hard. We're talking a drop of 20% plus in a pretty short window, mostly because of that SK Hynix news I just mentioned and some broader nervousness about how much money hyperscalers are actually going to keep pouring into AI infrastructure. But here's what I want you to focus on. Micron's actual business, the fundamentals, are about as strong as they've ever been. Their most recent quarterly revenue came in north of $41 billion, up over 300% year over year, with gross margins sitting around 85%, which is an incredible number for a memory chip company. They've guided for next quarter's revenue to come in around $50 billion. And get this, Micron has actually locked in 16 long-term strategic customer agreements, running through the end of the decade, backed by over $22 billion in cash deposits and letters of credit from customers who are contractually on the hook. Companies don't put down that kind of collateral unless they're serious about needing the supply. On top of that, Micron just announced it's boosting its planned U.S. manufacturing investment to somewhere north of $250 billion, building out new fabs in places like Idaho and New York, which tells you this company is planning for demand that stretches out for years, not just this AI cycle. Micron's next earnings report isn't even until late September, so there's no fresh catalyst coming for a while, which honestly might be a good thing. It gives the stock time to cool off and consolidate before its next real test, instead of whipsawing on every headline. If it can hold up in this $900 range, I think Micron ends up being one of the better buy-the-dip opportunities to come out of this whole memory sector shakeout. Now let's talk about a name that just proved the AI infrastructure story is still very much alive, and that's ASML. This is the Dutch company that basically has a monopoly on the extreme ultraviolet lithography machines needed to manufacture the most advanced chips in the world. And they just reported earnings that blew past expectations on both the top and bottom line. Revenue came in well above what analysts were modeling, earnings beat by a wide margin too. And here's the part that really matters. ASML actually raised their full-year sales guidance and raised it significantly on the back of stronger than expected customer demand. Their outlook for next quarter also came in ahead of what Wall Street was looking for. This is a company telling you, in plain numbers, that chip makers around the world are still ramping up capacity to keep pace with AI demand. And yet the stock has still pulled back over the past couple of weeks, caught up in the same broader semiconductor jitters as everything else, even though the actual results say the opposite story. To me, that's exactly the kind of disconnect worth paying attention to. When a company delivers a genuine beat and raise quarter and the stock still can't get out of its own way because of sector-wide fear, that's often a gift for anyone willing to be patient. If this kind of breakdown is helpful, go ahead and tap that like button. It really does help this video reach more people who could use it. All right, switching gears here because we've got some breaking news that's honestly one of the biggest stories in fintech this year, and that's PayPal. This stock has had a rough few years. It's down more than 40% over the past 12 months. And at one point this year, its market value had shrunk all the way down from a peak of around $360 billion back in 2021 to something closer to $36 billion. The company's been in turnaround mode. They brought in a new CEO earlier this year, and they've been cutting costs and even trimming their workforce by roughly 20% to try to get the business back on track. Well, today that turnaround story took a massive turn because reports broke that Stripe and the private equity firm Advent International have made a joint offer to buy PayPal outright in a deal valued at more than $53 billion. We're talking $60.50 a share in cash, which is about a 28% premium over where the stock was trading before the news, and the offer is reportedly backed by around $50 billion in committed financing. PayPal's board is expected to meet as soon as this coming Monday to discuss the proposal. The stock shot up around 17% on the news. Now, I want to be straight with you here. Once a buyout offer like this hits the tape, the easy money has already been made. The stock typically doesn't run much past the offer price unless a competing bidder shows up. So chasing PayPal here purely for a bigger pop probably isn't the smartest move. But it is worth watching closely because these things can get messy. Counteroffers happen, boards negotiate for higher prices, and there's real money to be made in the spread if you understand the risk you're taking on. Next up, Tesla, and this one's got a big catalyst coming up fast. Earnings are set to drop after the closing bell next Wednesday. Now here's what's interesting. Tesla already gave us a preview of how strong this quarter might be when they reported second quarter delivery numbers a couple weeks back, and they absolutely crushed it, delivering around 480,000 vehicles, which was way above the roughly 406,000 analysts were expecting, and up 25% from a year ago. Despite that beat, the stock actually didn't rally much, which tells you the market's attention has shifted away from just counting cars and toward bigger questions, things like automotive gross margins, how the robotaxi rollout is progressing now that it's expanded beyond Austin into Dallas and Houston, and how the Optimus humanoid robot program is coming along. Wall Street is looking for earnings of somewhere around 50 cents a share, with revenue expected to land close to $25.5 billion, which would be roughly 15% growth year over year. The stock is sitting down around 10 to 12% so far this year, even though it's still up nicely over the past 12 months, and it's trading well off its 52-week high. Tesla is one are those names that almost never trades on simple valuation logic. It trades on story and momentum and how convinced the market is about the long-term autonomy and robotics vision. If that story gets reinforced next week, even with a mixed quarter on the numbers, don't be surprised to see this stock make a real move. Quick favor, if you're finding this useful, go ahead and share this video with someone you know who owns Tesla or is thinking about buying in before earnings. This is exactly the kind of setup that's worth talking through with someone else before you commit real money to it. And finally, let's close with the name that I think has honestly been treated the most unfairly in this whole pullback, Corning, ticker GLW. If you don't know the Corning story, this is a company that's been around for over 175 years. But over the past year, it's basically transformed into one of the market's favorite AI infrastructure plays, because they make the optical fiber, the cabling, and the connectivity hardware that physically links AI data centers together. The stock has had an incredible run, up well over 100% this year alone at its peak, and over 200% over the trailing 12 months, hitting an all-time high above $270 a share at the end of June. Since then, it's given back a big chunk of those gains. We're talking a drop of close to 30% from the top. And a lot of that decline is simply broader AI sector profit-taking rather than anything specific to Corning's own business. Yes, there's been some insiders selling worth noting. A few executives took some chips off the table near the highs. And yes, the valuation got stretched after such a fast run-up. But look at what's actually happening underneath the stock price. Corning signed a $6 billion deal with Meta earlier this year for data center cabling and connectivity. That's not a rumor, that's a signed contract. And even with the recent sell-off, analysts at firms like Oppenheimer and Bank of America have actually been raising their price targets on this stock, not lowering them, calling the pullback an attractive entry point rather. Then a warning sign. Corning reports earnings on July 28th, with Wall Street looking for adjusted earnings of somewhere around 75 cents a share, on revenue expected to come in close to $4.6 billion, both of which would represent solid double-digit growth from a year ago. Analysts covering this stock are still overwhelmingly positive too. Most of the ratings out there remain buys, and the average price target sits meaningfully above where the stock trades today, even after accounting for this pullback. When you get this kind of gap between what the fundamentals are telling you and what the stock price is doing in the short term, purely because of sector-wide fear, that's usually when the most patient investors quietly start building positions. So that's 6 names across several very different corners of this market. Memory chips, semiconductor equipment, fintech, EVs, and AI infrastructure hardware, all getting caught up in the same wave of short-term fear, even though the underlying businesses are telling very different stories depending on the company. That's really the takeaway I want you to leave with today. This pullback isn't one single story. It's a handful of different situations that got lumped together because the market loves to sell first and ask questions later, and it rarely bothers to separate the good businesses from the shaky ones on the way down. Earnings season over the next couple of weeks is going to do a lot of that separating for us, so this is exactly the kind of stretch where staying informed instead of reactive really pays off. If you found this breakdown useful, do me a favor and drop a comment letting me know which one of these names you're watching closest right now. I read every single one, and it genuinely helps me figure out what to cover next. And if you haven't already, smash that like button. Share this with anyone you know who's been nervous about their portfolio the last couple weeks, and make sure you're subscribed here on Ticker Hawk so you don't miss how any of these stories play out over the next few weeks with earnings season in full swing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.